The famed Apollo Theater has hosted and launched some of the biggest names in entertainment. Now, coming to its stage, the largest live poetry showcase since Russell Simmons' Deaf Poetry Jam on Broadway. Joining us today, the founder of Poetry Me Please, Rashan Brown. So nice to meet you.
Pleasure, it's a pleasure.
So I love the idea of this. You started it 2021, right?
2020.
2020. And what gave you the idea?
You know, I attended a showcase in, it was an open mic in Brooklyn. A friend of mine had flagged it for me. I used to do a bit of poetry in college, and I haven't really stepped into that lane since then. So the opportunity came up, and I remember paying a small fee, maybe like $20 or so. And then I performed, and the feeling that I had on stage was almost like an outer body experience for me. It was nothing that I felt before. You know, I used to do a few performances in college, nothing too crazy. But that feeling that I had, I was like, oh, this is, like, whatever this is, I need to recreate it. And, you know, I thought about doing it in a few different ways. The first one being I didn't want to charge myself. So I'm like, I could do another open mic, but I probably have to pay for it. But if I do one myself, then I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Silly enough, but you know, it worked out for me.
Yeah, that's how they say, in necessity,
right?
Mother of invention, and
right.
I think that's what it is.
Right. And then I knew I wanted to have other poets also join me, and I had a bunch of people in the crowd, and I knew I can get a good crowd to come out. So I thought about how could I bridge the gap between talented poets and high quality content.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a month later and some change, Poetry Me Please was docked for March 2020. But if you remember what happened, March 2020.
I think we all remember.
Right. It got postponed. And the pandemic was a journey, but I was able to circle back in June 2021 was the first official Poetry Me Please showcase.
So Poetry Me Please, why the name?
When funny, a lot of people have asked me this, and I try to think as far back as possible. I used to use the term me please a lot. So whenever I wanted something, like me please as a joke. And I really did it when I was getting my master's degree. And I would always say like masters me please, because I just wanted to get it over with. So every day I'm like masters me please, master me please. I kind of just transitioned it over to poetry. So that need or that want to just do poetry and nothing else, like Poetry Me Please. And
so you are a poet.
I am a poet.
I can tell you got that in the blood.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
How excited you got when you got back up on stage.
Yes.
So what is the showcase designed to do for poets, and what is it about the spoken word genre that you really think really needs a broader audience and a bigger platform?
Yeah, so let me take you through the mindset. So Poetry Me Please is a spoken word poetry platform that provides a stage for poets across the world to showcase their talents through creative verbal expression. And what we do is we take about 10 to 12 poets per showcase, and we do this on a monthly basis. We give them 7 minutes on stage. At the conclusion of their time, they will receive 2 videos per poem, photography content, features across all of our social sites, and they get welcomed into a community of poets. So there's a few things working there. So the fact that we're offering poets content, having 7 minutes on stage, that can range from anywhere between 1 to 3 videos, to 3 poems. So if you do 3 poems, you leave with 6 videos. So providing poets with content so that they can build their own portfolios. And
so they pay for this?
No, this is all free of charge for poets.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all free of charge for poets. Attendees who attend the event will have to pay. Will have to pay for the ticket. So
how big a deal is it to have your showcase on one of the biggest stages, the Apollo Theater?
It's huge. It's huge. We average about 400 guests per showcase. So with the Apollo, our biggest event around 500, we're going to triple our highest capacity. So not only just in terms of the capacity range, but just that historic venue. When you look at poetry, and kind of getting back to your question earlier, is when people think of poetry, especially spoken word, having that passion on stage and being able to tap into a different character, we usually see those on smaller stages. Just because of the way that things have gone, mainstream is rap, hip hop, all different types of music festivals, but it's almost like when you take away the beat, people feel as if you don't deserve that big stage. So a big piece of Poetry Me Please is being able to put poetry back on the forefront, similar to the way that Def Jam was doing it, Def Poetry was doing it. And it's kind of opening up to people to say, poetry is just as important, especially being the foundation for any any
music,
artistry,
really,
you know, any artist, you know, any art.
And do you find that many people who are spoken word artists are young people of color? Is there a broader appeal in some communities more than others?
So, you know, I would say it depends on what city you're in. Being in a main city like New York, especially with 5 boroughs, you know, we started off for African Americans, for Black people, people of color. But, you know, it's, you know, anyone does poetry. Our crowd, 100%, you know, we have, you know, our sweet spot is around, I would say about like 97% identify as people of color or Black. We have, you know, high percentage of women who come out. I think there's been a misconception between who poetry is for. So I've been trying to get a few of the brothers to come out a little bit more. But
well, if you tell them the women are there, they'll come.
Right, that should make the connection.
Yes,
but you know,
100%
in our communities for sure, we see, you know, I see that high percentage of people coming out.
Okay, so November 25th.
Yes.
At the Apollo Theater.
Yes.
Send people to poetrymeplease.com.
Yes.
You can find out. You get tickets there.
Tickets there. You get all information there.
All right. Honestly, it's a brilliant idea, and you know, you have that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And you've made it a reality.
Oh yeah.
So nice to meet you. Congratulations. I got a feeling you're going to have a huge night.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
It was a pleasure.
When we come back, maintaining top scores in academics and athletics, the Riverside girls basketball team. Stay with us.